when we were going into, doing all the light industrial, work back then, I remember going to companies all dressed to the nines because I thought I had to be all fancy only to get there. And they're like, take off those shoes, put on some steel-toed boots, put on your safety glasses, put on this hard hat. And I'd be like, oh, I was so cute.
Oh, you're always a sharp dresser. You still are. You're fabulous. But yeah, no, you couldn't do that. Yeah, we made you put in a hard. Nobody looks cute in a hard hat and safety
Nobody.
glasses. No.
Welcome to the Sold Out Sales Podcast, the podcast that will equip both the seasoned sales professional and the more reluctant seller with mindset shifts and strategies needed to succeed in a competitive marketplace. First of all, I want to say thank you for joining us on the Sold Out Sales Podcast. Always my pleasure to hang out with everyone here in this community. Thank you so much for your love, for hanging out, for liking, subscribing, all the things. Today is a literal, it's such a special day for me. You all have heard me tell stories about the people who've made huge impacts in my life as it pertains to sales. You've heard me talk about my background in staffing, and where I got my start, if you will, in the world of business or just in career period. Well, the guest that I have for you today was such a huge part of that. It's making me emotional, literally. Oh my God. I want to introduce you all to Cathryn Baker. She has been in my life for, nearly 30 years. I've been married for 30 years. I think I had come to the company that she was a owner of probably about 3 or 4 years into my marriage. So it's been a long, long time. I'm going to allow Cathryn to introduce herself to you, and you'll read her wonderful bio on our show notes. But she's just such a special person, and I can't wait to share her with everyone. So Cathryn, introduce yourself to the audience and share with us, if you will, one thing that no one will know about you by reading your bio or seeing your website.
Oh gosh, well, there's plenty of that. But I'm Cathryn Baker, and yes, I've known Tish. It really does have to be close to 30 years if you've been married 30 years. And we go back so far and reconnected on LinkedIn. And for 37 years, I was in staffing. I started and sold 2 staffing companies, started them from scratch with a partner. And so that was my world for 37 years. And recently, about a year and a half ago, I chucked it all, and that was all in El Paso, Texas. And I decided to do a 180. My husband and I did. And so I'm talking to you from our home at a ranch in the Texas Hill Country, a teeny little town nearby. And I became a certified coach and consultant, and it's been a ride. So I'm so happy to be here with Tish's wonderful audiences, and mostly with her, because thinking I know we're not going to have any trouble finding stuff to talk about.
I know.
um, Gosh, I don't know what to say for there's a lot of things about, well, I'll tell you something that you might not even know this, and it's really about my brother, but one of my brothers is a professional guitar player, and he played with Janet Jackson and Katie Lang and Cher. And so I've been to a ton of those concerts and backstage. And the only one I didn't meet was Cher. She wasn't a really meet and greet kind of gal, but I met everybody else. So, and then he's been on The Voice actually now since The Voice started. He's not on anymore this season because of some hand issues. But anyway, that's a fun fact about me, that I come from a very musical family, and he's the one that made it big.
I had no idea. Yep, I did not know that. So
I
thank
didn't
you for
think you
sharing
did,
that.
but
That's crazy.
yeah, it is.
Yeah, so I will tell you all, so I've known Cathryn again for such a long time. I've been to her home when she was in El Paso. Her husband had the best bakery, an absolute amazing bakery that we used to not only go to get chocolate chewies, which are my favorites to this day, and we're able to rent it out for parties and different things. I mean, but I think the most important thing that I love about Cathryn is that, number one, when I didn't see things in myself, she saw them in me and would kind of pull, if you will, some of my potential out and really help me to find my voice and, understand things about being able to sell, especially in the world of staffing. So, Cathryn, let me ask you this. Would you share with us your your sales journey, if you will, because by the time I met you, you were like, one that I so admired and still do, but just looked up to. And you seemed like you could have conversations with anybody, and they always worked out so well. So, what was your journey? Were you ever apprehensive about being in sales, or was it something you were just really comfortable with all along?
Oh, that's an excellent question. And no, yes, I was apprehensive about it. But when you start, that was my second company when you joined us, Tish. And my first one, I had done a lot of sales and
Hmm.
did get some training. But when we first started it, and oh, that was back in the 80s,
Yeah.
I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about running a company. Definitely didn't know anything about staffing. I had a psychology degree and no business experience, and I didn't know anything about selling. But through the years, I did get a lot of training, and I'm a huge advocate of training and development. You know that, and you are
Yeah.
too. Yeah, because why do it alone when there's so many people that can help you? But I think that everybody has a gift or a talent, and mine is connecting with people. I don't even know so much if it's talking to people, although that's part of it, but I connect with them. And it really took me a long time, I guess, to figure out, I wonder why. Why is it easier for me? And I think it's nothing more complicated than I just really like people. And
Mm.
I'm interested in them. And that's why I pursued psychology. I was sociology and then psychology, and I thought I wanted to be a psychologist until I didn't. Um, and I'm glad I didn't. But so I think that for my sales journey, that's the part that propelled me forward. And then I got better with skills as I trained more. And these sales have changed a lot during the years. And the way, I mean, it used to be back in the old day, you went door to door, you really did. And some people
Yeah.
still do that, but not a lot. And so, you have to follow the technology and everything. But one thing that hasn't changed is people do business with people, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, you have that gift too, Tish. People are drawn to you, and you're easy to talk to. And that, if you just do that in sales, oh, and my famous ask good questions and shut up and listen. I'm sure that could be coined in a much more elegant way, but it's really what you need to do is ask a great question and just listen and be quiet. So those skills in sales will never go away if that's my opinion, but I truly
Yeah.
believe.
I completely agree. And I think that that's one of the things that one of the gifts I think you gave me was understanding that if I just love connecting with people and love helping people get what they ultimately want, and then ask good questions and shut up. Best gift ever, really. It's like it's taken me all this time. I mean, you really literally helped me to build this business with those principles that I learned many, many, many years ago. Um, Cathryn, although you said that people are still people, what do you think has been the biggest change in the way that we sell? Because I'd love to hear more about your story as to what you're doing now, but at the end of the day, we're still selling, but we're maybe selling differently. What has been the biggest change in the way that we sell?
Wow, another great question. And because it's been decades, I think, not to get too philosophical, but I think that people don't trust each other like they used to. I think
Yeah.
um, there's just a lot of mistrust. So when you're trying to sell somebody your product, and of course you have to find their pain points, and I mean you're really selling them a solution, not your product. You're selling a
Right.
solution. And in my case, I'm selling me, and that's even harder. But if you can't establish the trust, and if people go into it without trust, I've seen a big shift in that. It used to be, people would at least give you the time of day if
Yeah.
you're trying to sell something, and it wouldn't be so difficult to get an appointment. And now, just like it's a very tough profession to be in. And even when you have the most wonderful solution, getting it out there to the right people, is harder. And I do think it's because of the lack of trust.
Yeah, I definitely believe that. I feel like we have to work harder or be more committed to developing that trust now than we used to. Because I remember the days we would get in the car and we would just drive around industrial parks and pop indoors and talk to people, right? Remember that?
I do remember that and that too. And neither of us is teeny tiny. I'm pretty sure you're taller than me, but I think we were probably a force to be reckoned with.
Right?
But I don't remember with you. I actually don't think I've ever been literally kicked out of any place. But and plenty of reps have, especially if you're trying to get in a secure facility. But
Right.
I just think that you and I had that charisma. I mean, who wouldn't want to talk to us? That was probably portrayed
For sure.
wherever we wanted.
So I think it's funny. I tell the story about how, and I don't know if it was you and there was a few other people involved in that decision, but I don't know how much of a role you played in it. But I don't know if you remember that there was this performance manager position created to basically, I think, to trick me into sales, to be honest with you. So I remember doing this performance manager role, and I would go out with some of the salespeople. And I tell you, you guys listen. Out of all of the people on the sales team, when I was able to go out with Cathryn, I was like, oh, it's a great day. I mean, there was other people that were, traditional salespeople, and they were great people, but man, I loved being able to go out and watch you in action and see how just easy you made it having conversations and helping people feel seen and really listening to what they wanted and then coming back to the office and putting together these proposals that were just so perfect for what they were really looking for. It was just such an art to me. So I saw you from that perspective, but I'm sure you had moments as well. So what would you say, Cathryn, even over the last few years, has been your biggest sales flop? When's a time when you felt like it just didn't work out quite the way you wanted it to?
Oh, well, I have a great story for that. Um, oh gosh, this was probably 7 or 8 years ago, but went in and I had a rep with me, a male rep, and he's awesome. We
Hmm.
sold the heck out of El Paso and managed to get an appointment with this guy. And gosh, I can't remember what they did, but it was some kind of manufacturing facility. And he was from New Jersey.
Hmm.
And so if you think about the stereotypical, what you think about aggressive people out east, that was this guy. And first of all, I don't think I did a great job finding his pain points. And I
Mm.
knew he was going to make a decision on price. I never should have even tried for that because that's not our customer.
Yeah.
We were relationship selling but we did it anyway. And that guy, so we sit down and we're at this big table and it was out in the middle of the plant. And he just tells me I give him the proposal, go through it and give him the price, which was points lower than I usually would have done. And he
Yeah.
looked at me and you know what he did? He laughed. He laughed in my face.
Whoa. Oh my gosh.
I know. Whoa is right. This was probably the only time I got really mad in a sales call because we all have our triggers and
Yeah.
laughing at me for some reason. I did not grow up getting teased, or I don't know why, but it pisses me off. So I was like, he laughed at me, and I remember I just looked down, I looked at the rep, and I just said, "Thank you for your time," and I left. And I was mad about that for days, which is ridiculous because he should have been I shouldn't have wasted my energy to begin with. So
Right.
the big mistake was I knew he wasn't my ideal customer. He wasn't a good fit for our company. We could have filled his orders all day, but with that kind of attitude. So anyway,
Yeah.
that's the only time I've been probably people have laughed at me behind my back, but this first time when it was like literally in my face. So
Believe me, that is a trigger for probably anybody. I
right.
can relate. You know what I think about when we were going into, doing all the light industrial, work back then. I remember going to companies all dressed to the nines because I thought I had to be all fancy only to get there and they're like, take off those shoes, put on some steel-toed boots, put on your safety glasses, put on this hard hat. And I'd be like, oh, I was so cute.
Oh, you're always a sharp dresser. You still are. You're fabulous. But yeah, no, You couldn't do that. Yeah, we made you put a, yeah, and a hard, nobody looks cute in a hard hat and safety
Nobody.
glasses. No.
Yes, I do. And then I started carrying him around in my car. So I always have, steel toe boots in my car. I always have safety glasses in my car. So I just get ready for it. Have you ever gone to a networking event or a conference and found that although you made great connections and you walked away with a stack full of business cards, you still didn't have a real plan for how to get a good return on your investment of both time and money? Well, let me tell you, having a networking and sales planner is a way for you to be more intentional about the way that you network.
Hey, I'm Susan Gladstein. I'm a functional nutrition and metabolism specialist, and I got connected with Tish because she is a rock star at systems and sales, and so I downloaded the planner to help get my brain organized as I went through a rebrand and launched a new course. And it's really helped me sort of get things out of my head and onto paper so that I can actually do follow-ups and not just rely on my brain. So far it's rocking my world and making my business systems that were non-existent actually have some sort of structure. So I love it. It's amazing. And I'm so grateful that our paths have crossed.
I've been working with sales professionals for almost 15 years. And one of the things that I find is that when they don't have a plan, they do nothing. They sit at their desk and wonder what to do. Well, with this networking and sales planner, you have profit producing activities for every single day of the week. It tells you where to go, what to say, even gives you prompts as to how to interact with people that you don't know. If you're an introvert and you feel like this isn't for you, I have already thought of you because I understand exactly how introverts think. So this gives you the tools enabling you to be armed with words, with language, so that you can make your networking more profitable.
Hey everyone, Rachel Neighbors here from solo401k.com. And I wanted to take a moment to talk about how awesome this sales networking planner is that Tish put out. So as you can see, I have it on my Remarkable. That's my sort of e-ink planner. And this sales planner has been so helpful for me. So I'm an old school pay-per-click marketer. I do Google ads, Facebook ads, and I know how to turn advertising into profit. But I didn't know how to turn network sales into profit. And when I met Tish, this woman literally wrote the book on networking called, Networking is Not a One-Night Stand. And she's put that experience and that energy and those valuable tips into this networking sales planner. And I just think that it can be so powerful for you in your business. I know it's been really helpful for me and mine. One thing that Tish told me is, Rachel, when you meet someone, put them into your planner and then follow up with them like they're a lead that you've generated on Google Ads or that you followed up with or that you've generated on Facebook. And that has been so helpful and transformative in my business. So thank you, Tish, for this awesome planner.
Maybe you don't even like networking. You say things like, networking doesn't work. Well, let me tell you, when you have a plan in place, you have some intention, and you have the tools to be able to make it work, you will see a different result. My new networking and sales planner is a game changer. It's the difference between you going to an event, wandering around and walking away without any purpose and without any new money, and walking into an event with a plan, with a purpose, and being able to convert new clients into your business. No one wants to feel inauthentic and pushy or even salesy when following up. So frequently we just don't do it at all. Well, the profitable follow-up formula, which is in the back of your networking and sales planner, will give you the tools and the language and the frequency with which you should be following up so that it feels very authentic. It feels genuine and natural both to you and to the people that you're reaching out to. Go to tishtimes.com/planner to get your digital or physical version of your planner.
Hi, my name is Cheryl James from CL James Consulting, and I just want to tell you a little bit about how awesome this networking sales planner is. I started intentionally networking at the beginning of this year, and I have been using my planner on a regular basis, not only to get inspiration, but to track the people I want to meet and the people I have met, and to make sure that I follow up with them from week to week. So if you are looking to network intentionally and hold yourself accountable, this planner is a must-have.
And once you get your planner, you'll also receive a video series that's going to teach you how to maximize your networking and how to use this planner to get the best result and best return on your investment of both time and money. If you are ready to stop wasting time with networking and turn your networking into a sales machine, then go to tishtimes.com/planner and grab your networking and sales planner. So Cathryn, it's been, of course, many, many years since we worked together, but I've obviously followed your career. But tell us a little bit about your journey, you know, when you left the staffing world, and tell us a little bit about what your focus is and who are your ideal clients now.
Oh, I'd love to. When I left, which was, it'll be 2 years in August this year. So I had sold the company that Kathleen and I started where you worked. I'd sold it and I stayed on. I had to stay on for 2 years contractually, you know, to meet my metrics, which I did.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, I opened another branch there it was comfortable. I grew it. We got up to 13 million, just with those 2 little offices. That's in little old El Paso. So you know how that is, Tish.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I didn't know it at the time, but I was bored. It was no longer a challenge. And, you know, I was, of course, had owned my own company for a long, long time and working for Allegiance. And my boss, he was awesome. He did the transition so well, never made me feel anything less or than, you know, the valued person that I was. So
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't that, it was me. And so I had a friend in staffing. You may have met her at one time, Sue Marks. She used to come into
Yes.
town now and then. I'm pretty sure you met her, even if you don't remember her. But she had a staffing company in Milwaukee and then started another. She's wildly successful.
Mm-hmm.
She and her husband bought a ranch, which is where I am right now. And they had said, "Come on out and see it." 6.5 hour drive, and we did. And they took us to this house. And Ray and I walked in the house, and it has, well, I've told Tish, you know, you're invited anytime. These, you know,
Yes.
vaulted beam ceilings. But the thing is, like the wall of windows with this fabulous view of the hill country. And it
Mm-hmm.
was totally empty. There was nothing in the house. And I'm just like, sometimes you know how a space grabs you.
Yeah.
This grabbed me and Ray. And our friends, they're like, "We hate this house. It's, you know, it's so traditional, and we don't know what we're gonna do with it." And so we came again. And that time, Sue brought air mattresses, and we stayed. We had 2 lawn chairs and air mattresses and some towels. You know, I think somebody brought a coffee pot, but we stayed. And that time, as we left, Ray and I were driving back, and I told Ray, "I don't want to leave. I
Oh,
I want to be here." And so Sue, well, we didn't tell them yet, but the whole drive home, we were figuring out what can we do. We could sell the house, and we did all of these things.
mm-hmm.
But so Sue sent me that next week a text, and it said, "Your unlived life is waiting for you."
Wow.
And I'm like, what is that? Does this mean, is the ranch my unlived life? And I
Mm-hmm.
decided that it was. And so, and this is what my signature speech is about seeing an opportunity. The opportunity came and plopped itself right in front of us. But that happens to a lot of people. Opportunities come all the time.
Yeah.
But what many people don't do is take it or recognize it.
Yeah.
And, you know, you have to listen. I listened with my ears, my eyes, my heart. So did Ray.
Yeah.
And I wrote that down. It's on a block of wood. It's sitting right here on my desk now. And I looked at it every day for 5 months until I moved here. So that entailed quitting
Mm-hmm.
Allegiance staffing, which was really hard and
Mm-hmm.
scary. My friend Sue, "You should be a coach and a consultant." And I'm like, "Yeah, I didn't even know what that was. But I said, I'm going to do that. And we put the house on the market. We had worked all those years to get the house paid off, and just redid the kitchen for my dream kitchen. I had it a year, and then we sold it.
Wow.
And yeah, in 5 months, and then I started my professional coaching. I did take that path to get certified, and I'm so glad I did. And that took a year. But yeah, so that was in May is when my unlived life text came, and by November we were here. And
Wow.
life was just a 180. I never worked from home. I used to say I could never do that. I could never live rurally. Never say never, because I'm doing all these things. And I was 67 years old when this happened. And so, there were naysayers, of course, that like, what, why don't you just retire?
Mhm.
And you know why? I don't want to.
There you go.
I'm not ready to retire. I have lots to give. I thought I had a lot to give, and I do.
Yeah.
So, and that's in my speech too. Then I said, we have to recognize the opportunity. Then you got to look at the risks and say, well, what's holding me back? What's holding me back was a whole lot of fear.
Yeah.
But I did it anyway. And then action. And action is often the thing that people, they take it so far. Well, look at you, Tish. I mean, starting your own company is hard, and you've done it a couple times. It's
Yeah.
scary and hard, no matter what it is.
So
And
true.
you did it. You took action. You had an opportunity. I'm sure you looked at the risks and think, well, what am I doing? And then you
Yeah.
went.
I love that story so much. You know what's really funny about starting the business though? I don't know if you even know this because I don't think I shared it with you, but when I interviewed for my job at the staffing company, my very, very first interview, one of the questions was something around, where do you see yourself in 10 years? And I remember saying, one day I'm going to have my own business. I had no idea what that was going to be, but I knew back then someday I'm going to own a business, and, kind of made that happen shortly thereafter. So that's pretty interesting.
That's amazing. You should tell the whole world that, because so many people let themselves get in the way. I mean, when you really get right down to it, and trust me, when I started my coaching certification course, I had to go 3 times to Austin, and we were together for 3 days. All these people would coach us, and every one of them I thought was smarter and better than me, and certainly younger. I was the oldest one by far. And but I got coached continually. I still get coached. And because we reciprocal coach, it's like, I'm sure like dentists do each other's teeth, well, coaches coach each other. And I needed, well, I don't know if I could have done it without it, because boy, did I have, imposter syndrome. And I lost a lot of the confidence that I had over the years. And I didn't even realize that until I started getting it back.
Yeah.
So, we're in our own way, and you have to find out what's holding you back and then take care of that. You don't
Love
stuff
that.
it under the rug or sweep it under the rug, but you reframe it. You make it your power.
Oh man. Cathryn, I love talking to you. I'm coming to the ranch, certainly coming to the ranch.
I can't wait.
But would you share with us, who are the people that you coach? What kind of clients do you currently, work with?
Well, my ICP, my ideal client, is a leader or an executive, and that is who I coach. I've had a couple that would just be like individuals, say, but they're leaders. It doesn't have to be an owner, but the people at that level, they often, it is lonely. I probably don't need to tell you that, Tish,
Yeah.
because you often don't have somebody to talk to about those fears. You can't really show that fear to your teams. I mean, you show vulnerability, and you need to be authentic, but I'm not going to tell my team I'm scared to death to walk into that customer
Right.
because they're scared. I
Yeah.
have to strong. So, but you still feel all those things, or, the doubts, and am I doing the right thing? And so, I mean, that's where, for me, the coaches came in, and that really sealed the deal for me. But I'm so glad that this is what I'm doing, because it really is magic. And so my focus is on them, but then I do workshop development for those middle managers, which you will know, Tish, that would be like branch managers in our staffing industry.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I'm sure you've seen this a lot too, because you work with lots of different industries. Oftentimes that middle manager group, they get they get promoted up because they were good at one thing, or maybe
Yeah.
because longevity or whatever. And then, but there's no development really. Oftentimes, not even expectations or any kind of onboarding. It's just like, okay, now you're a branch manager, and here,
Go do it. Yeah.
go do it.
Yeah.
And so I work with them, the middle managers, to develop them so they can become confident decision makers, so the leaders and executives can really do their jobs instead of babysitting, which is essentially what it comes down to. If you don't have competent people in the middle that you can trust, and you can't even go on vacation. And that's in my actually, I'm going to be doing a webinar on it shortly. And I asked the question, would you be able to go on a 2-week vacation and feel confident that the place won't fall apart? But there's a lot of people that couldn't do that.
There's a lot that cannot do that. You're absolutely right. Well, I want you to share that with me. I'd be happy to drop it in the show notes so people can register for that if they're the right person for you. And I'm just so delighted to have this conversation. I cannot wait to spend more time talking and catching up some more. But thank you so much for coming and being a guest on the podcast.
Oh, I love it. I could talk to you for hours. You're awesome. And you've really done such great work, Tish, for the salespeople. So,
well, I tell you what, you had a huge part in my being able to do this. So I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Love you too.
All right. Well, we'll see you all next week on the Sold Out Sales podcast. As you can tell, my heart is full. So go be great. We'll see you back next week. Thanks for listening to the Sold Out Sales podcast. I would be so appreciative if you would show me and my amazing guests some love by leaving a review on your favorite podcasting platform. Also, go over to tishtimes.com/resource page and make sure you pick up your sales and networking handbook, especially for introverts. Also, I'd love to continue this conversation, so make sure you connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I'll see you back here next week.